Welcome back, guys. They released another hotfix for the weight of the armors. So yesterday's video is a little bit pointless now. So I've made a load of ships, and I'll go in a little bit more detail. Well, not detail for the actual individual armors, but detail for the individual ships. So this is a 1920 ship, so I'll do each class in 1920. It's actually 1924, but I think most of the ships are the same. I can't be bothered to redesign them for 1920, so but assume this is 1920s, and we're going for 12, 12, 12, 12, and then 3/4 on the main deck and half on the aft deck. And then the side and tops 14, 11. Obviously, if you can't get to 11, then you put it as high as you can. So 14, 11 for 2 inches higher than the main belt and the main deck, basically. So that is your standard design. Now, you're going to be using this quite a lot after 1920, this armour pattern. So I highly recommend trying to get as close to this as you can. Battle cruiser hasn't got as much weight available, so you won't be able to get 12 all over, but you'll still be able to get 644. So just do 12, 9, 9, and then 644. So obviously with the battleship it was 9 on the main deck. So the battle cruiser is unfortunately got a lot weaker main deck and weaker aft and fore belt. So it's a lot less durable than the battleship. So I'd recommend keeping it at max distance if you can. So it's a very similar design. We've not been able to get as good top armor on the turrets either. So it's definitely a lot weaker. You could potentially drop the main belt down a little bit and add a bit more into the decks and tops of the turrets. If you're staying at max range, you'll get hit in the decks and tops a lot more often. So that might not be a bad idea, reducing that by 1 or 2 inches and just staying at max distance. So we've got the armoured cruiser. So similar pattern to the battleship, just with the main belts and the superstructure at 3 inches less. So instead of 12s and 9s, you've got 9s and 6s. So the same formula, just with a little bit less armour. And then light cruiser, they've made light cruisers. Oh, I've actually got a bit spare armour. That's strange. Maybe I've taken something off while I've been playtesting. I don't think I have. Oh yeah, I have. I've been adjusting all these. I've been using this ship to playtest. So yeah, you'll basically be at 6 on everything, apart from the fore and aft deck, which you'll be at 4. So it's 6 on everything apart from fore and aft deck, which you'll be at 4. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to 1910 now. So on 1910, instead of 12s all over and 9s and 6s, you stay with 12s all over because you'll get hit in the belt a lot more than the deck in the earlier eras. So you stay at the 12s, but this time you reduce the main deck from 9 to 6, and then you do 2/3 again on the fore and aft deck. You can over armour the tops of your turrets because they don't weigh anywhere near as much as your main armour, so you can overprotect them a little bit just in case. So go back another 10 years. And once again, 12's all over, and 644, so exactly the same as 10 years later. So basically from 1900 to 1920, you'll be using this armour scheme: 12s, 6s and 4s. And then at 1930, we've still got the 12, 6, 9, 12, 9, 6 formula. So from 1900 to 1920, you've got the same formula, or the same amount. And then from 1920 to 1930, we've still got the same armour pattern. So the only thing that will be changing is the amount of guns and the quality of the guns at this point, not the armour. And then when you get to your super battleships, if you ever get that far, you'll be basically putting up you'll be stripping away a bit of the aft and fore belt, because you won't get hit from the side anywhere near as often, and you'll be putting the bit that you've saved from that into your main deck or your 3 decks, but also you'll be putting it into armouring your turret up a little bit. So really, I could put these up by a bit more and strip away some of this main deck. So that might be a better option, just to protect your turrets. So there you go. They are the armour schemes that I use for battleships in every era and for all the 4 different classes. The only thing that I haven't gone through is destroyers. Basically with destroyers, I've tried using different amounts of armour, and although I've only got 0.5 on the forebelt, I was doing that to balance the ship out a bit, but it's not entirely necessary. You can use other methods to balance the ship out. But I did find that armouring up the main belt and the forebelt in particular were quite important for making a torpedo run. So if you're using it as a torpedo boat, you're going to want these two. Just to deflect all of the 2-inch guns that will be firing at you. It increases your ricochet chance by having these two up. And then if you're using it as a screening ship to fight other screening ships, then you're going to want armour on all the other 6 categories as well. So there we go. That's all the different ships, what I recommend in this latest 0.6 hotfix. Right, take care guys, see you soon.